In the old days, you know, travel in the old days, horseback or by wagon, whatever, it's, you know, over these same roads, you know, must have been absolutely brutal, you know, no shocks or whatever. And just take you all day to do one loop. I got some aches and pains.
MONTEZUMA'S Revenge is more than just a bike race. It's more of a mental attitude.
Hi everybody and welcome to 10,400 feet above sea level for the 11th annual MONTEZUMA'S Revenge. I'm Rod ELISHA, and over the next 24 hours, 16 men and 1 woman mountain biker will be pushing their limits and testing the grueling challenge of mountain biking for a solid 24 hours straight. The riders are just hitting the street here in Montezuma. This is the start point and the transition point. They'll be heading up there and they'll be back here in about 10 hours where they'll transition to loop number 2. And they'll have a total of 9 loops covering 180 miles. They'll cross the Continental Divide 10 times. They will go 36,500 vertical feet.
Loop 1 starts with a pretty vicious climb up to the top of Glacier Mountain. That's about 45 minutes to an hour, followed by a traverse, you know, across the top of that for quite a while. Down Deer Creek descent over to Webster Pass, which on the Montezuma side is a fairly easy climb, I mean relative to Montezuma. And then down the backside is a long, long descent to Burning Bear Creek, which is a absolutely fabulous single track over to Guanella Pass. We ride up and over Guanella Pass to Loveland Pass, and then at A Basin we take the Lenawee Trail, which goes up over the peak of the ski resort and down another just absolutely incredible single track descent and back into Montezuma.
Weather a definite factor in 97. A steady downpour continues.
If it's not raining at the beginning of a Revenge, we get worried. So it's raining, we're not worried.
It's a good sign, right?
It's a good sign.
The 1997 MONTEZUMA'S Revenge 24-hour mountain bike race is brought to you by Paul Mitchell, Professional Salon Products. The 97 Classic, a part of the JSP Adventure Series. 3 miles into the 1997 MONTEZUMA'S Revenge 24-hour mountain bike race, and a 5-pack of riders breaks from the rest as they hit the single track. For the next 30 miles, they'll face uphill battles with rain, snowfields, and they're on their own till checkpoint number 1.
Oh, I think the miners were absolutely crazy. I mean, what they did with what they had is just, it's insane. I mean, if you go over and look at Argentine Pass, it's really narrow and it's just, it's all loose rocks. And they went over that, you know, with wagons. It's like, most people wouldn't feel safe walking that trail. And here these guys are going up and down on burros or, you know, pulling a stagecoach or a wagon behind them. So, and then some of their other footpaths, I mean, they just go straight up a mountain.
2 hours into the 97 MONTEZUMA'S Revenge and wheeling straight up Webster Pass with lots of gas, 22-year-old Colin Barker. Barker, last year's 4th place finisher, hot on the heels of defending champion and Revenge race record holder John STAMSTAD.
That's why I love it. It's different every single year. Even though in the past, you know, the course hasn't changed at all, it's always a little bit different. You know, the course changes, the weather changes, you know, the snowpack changes, so it's always a new experience.
The experience on the other side of the pass for Dan BRYAN continues to be wet and cold. Unfortunately, the only rainy day in the past several weeks. The weather just one of the many risks and dangers these riders will face. Here, Pat Norwell slides into the rocks at the bottom of the snowfield. 95 champion Joey Klein, currently in 4th place, observes Norwell and the snowfield from above. Most riders have pre-ridden this section and composed a strategy. Norwell hikes to retrieve the bike. Klein descends to scout a route.
Yeah, it's really rocky now.
Back on Webster Pass, Jack Busey grinds near the top in 5th place, trying to conserve energy for the night ahead. Klein preps for the snowy descent. 7 o'clock, and support crews search for their riders. Food and warm clothing will be needed after nearly 30 miles of racing in the cold and rain. 2 riders appear on the horizon, sprinting towards the checkpoint. Back on Webster, and Klein is ready for the tricky snowfield. 2 years ago, a snowfield descent on Grays by Klein vaulted him past STAMSTAD and ultimately led to victory. A fantastic controlled descent by Klein. .705, and Cullen, Barker, and John STAMSTAD wheel to wheel and riding strong towards checkpoint 1. Stamina, strategy, perseverance, and luck, the quintessential keys to victory in this race.
We were all pretty hypothermic coming off a glacier, and I just got some dry clothes on.
How was the first little bit of riding?
Cold! I cannot emphasize how cold it was.
7:15 p.m., 3 hours 15 minutes into the 24-hour race, Joey Klein has caught Pat Norwell on the descent and the pair near checkpoint 1. At checkpoint 1, STAMSTAD, refueled and reclothed, sets out on another section of single track.
It's real quick. 45 minutes or to an hour.
6.5 miles up the mountain and back down before hitting the pavement and dirt of Grinnell Pass. 1 minute in back of STAMSTAD, Barker races to resume his charge.
I can't do this in my big ring, can I?
Got it, Colin.
Riding abreast of each other into checkpoint 1 come Joey Klein and Pat Norwell.
Nice, you guys. Riding strong. Nice, Joey.
Meanwhile, a race coordinator checks the progress and safety of riders still on Webster Pass.
I feel good. That was really fun.
With a race like this, you always want to make sure that you eat even when you're not hungry. Just constantly eat, because once you're hungry, then basically you drain your sources, and it's kind of too late to keep the pace that the leaders are going to have.
Back on Webster Pass, and Jeremy Tyson prepares to descend the snowfield. .718. Klein and Norwell now nearly 10 minutes behind STAMSTAD and Marker as they set out on leg number 2.
You know it. Joey, you're supposed to do that for Grays.
I'm getting warmed up.
Back on Webster, and Tyson looks tentative.
On top of Webster Pass, there was a cornice. I went down it instead of going around it, and I got going. I couldn't stop. Lucky not to have much damage.
Now on Grinnell Pass, a quick tire changeover, and STAMSTAD is onto the paved road with a 7-minute lead over Barker. Dusk begins to set in. 7:45 p.m. BRYAN TODESHINI arrives at checkpoint 1 in 6th place. Now 38 minutes out of the lead, less than 4 hours into the race. Jack Busey arrived just about the same time. He too, now over 1/2 hour behind the lead of STAMSTAD. Already, one rider has dropped out. Over the horizon to a waiting crew, David PICKET-HEAPS, currently in 8th place. On to leg number 2 for 2 more riders, Todeshini and Busey.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Definitely hiking. And your lights aren't on yet, Brian.
Yeah.
Todeshini, with this pass of Busey, holds on to 6th place and struggles on. .7:49 p.m. A slow stop by David PICKET-HEAPS to add lights to the night loop adds a few precious moments. The 30-year-old Australian-born rider hopes to make his move on the Grinnell pavement, still over 6 miles away. .1:14 a.m. John Stamstad arrives back in Montezuma after 9 hours of riding, 83 miles complete, now a half-hour lead over BRYAN, who has moved to second. Loop 2 will come under the full moon, 17 miles, and include 14,270-foot Grays Peak.
The all-important loop is loop number 2 going over Grays. That's the key to the whole race, simply because that's where you can potentially make the biggest mistakes. At 14,000 feet, there's a lot of different variables. Weather can come in, it can snow, the rocks can get ice covered, so you can't totally prepare for that. You don't know what you're going to get until you're there, and then you have to deal with some unforeseen circumstances.
5 a.m., Stamstad arrives at the summit.
That was really, really hard. It's probably the hardest I've gone up, or not the hardest I've gone up Grays, but the hardest it's felt. I mean, it hurts 100 times more. I mean, it's one thing to hike up Grays. It's another to hike up Grays with a bike, and it's another to, hike up Grays with a bike after doing that loop 1. I mean, that's just, that was hard.
A fatigued Stamstad sets off again. As the moon sets to the west, the sun rises in the east. 5:51 a.m. BRYAN TODESHINI has overtaken 4 riders under the cover of darkness and arrives at the summit of Grays in second place, 47 minutes behind Stamstad. Just below the summit, accomplished hiker and mountain climber Joey Klein makes a final assault on the summit.
We've worked with him before.
My feeling is that he's a pretty tough competitor, tougher than I thought he'd be. So that's why I'm going to get out of here right now and try to get down, put some time on him. Hopefully he'll sit up here for a little bit.
"5:58 a.m. Klein finally arrives at the top to the first warm rays of the day's sunshine. After a quick stop to check in, warm, and rehydrate, it's then quickly back to business.
Nice, you guys later.
6:29 a.m. David PICKET-HEAPS said to be suffering from hypothermia and exhaustion as he continues to trudge to the top of Grays, now almost an hour and 1/2 behind the leader Stamstad. Barker and Busey begin their final assault on the summit. Word now circulating that John Stamstad has experienced colossal fatigue and cannot continue. With the news, PICKET-HEAPS refuses to stop. Now in third place, a chance to make the podium within his grasp. Barker's summit will punctuate the group of 10 total riders that make the Grays checkpoint.
Come on, Joey.
95 champion Joey Klein has now moved to the lead as John Stamstad has retired from the race. Now riding on Loop 3, it will add 12 miles and 2,200 vertical to the 100 miles and 16,000 vertical Klein has already pedaled. Back in Montezuma, Todeshini arrives 20 minutes out of the lead.
Give me your bike and why don't you run in and check in? Yeah, I'm going to be up at the car.
Some work on it. I think it needs a little work.
Okay.
Like in past years, the riders seem renewed in spirit after the grueling Loop 2. Now with the lead in hand, Klein picks up the pace, helped by a pace rider from his support crew. Back in Montezuma, defending champ Stamstad can only wait, watch, and wonder.
I started the race, and I mean, I kind of knew when I woke up this morning. Didn't feel like it was going to be a great day, and started the race and felt really poor going up the first climb, but then kind of got things turned around and started feeling really good and rode well, up Guanella Pass and up Loveland Pass, felt super strong, and then my body just gave out.
BRYAN Todeshini, refueled and reclothed, also enlists the help of a support rider as he joined Klein on loop number 3.
Don't push me out.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling okay, I'm just tired. Hoping I'm gonna get a second wind here pretty soon. I mean, I don't feel terrible, but a lot of climbing. Hopefully this loop will treat me a little better than the last one.
9 a.m. and Klein continues to put more distance between he and his challengers. Once again, the cold weather becomes a factor. Now an exhausted Jack Busey continues his pursuit, joining the select group to challenge Loop 3.
Good luck to you.
Thanks, bud. Really appreciate your help.
Lightning bolts and all this time.
12:28 p.m. Klein into Montezuma, ending loop number 4. His lead now almost an hour. The race nearly 20 hours old, but still in question. Barker, now in 4th place behind Klein, Todeschini, and David PICKET-HEAPS, struggles on in the run.
Oh, you know, I'm ready to take a nap.
Pat Norwell, fatigued yet determined, also goes on undeterred by the rain, the only rider to get this far without support crew. Back in Montezuma, Todeschini contemplates quitting, battling both physical and mental fatigue. His crew convinces him to continue. Regroup, he holds on to 2nd place. Todeschini joins Klein as the only 2 riders on Loop 5. 2:30 p.m. Klein nears the summit checkpoint on Loop 5. The race now well in hand. Battling fatigue and the weather, a short climb, and a final descent by Klein, and victory is here.
We're already all pretty lucky we've made what we have. All the guys on Loop 3 right now.
Yeah.
Scary.
Nasty
Only
stuff.
if we have to, man. Yeah.
Done.
I like this.
2:40. Todeschini continues falling farther behind Klein, conceding victory, but not his hold on 2nd place.
It's a good race overall, but it's definitely a tough one. That's for sure. Yeah, it'll be good to get up to the top though and, you know, look down. Kind of just enjoy the scenery. That's what we've been doing on the way up, just kind of stopping and checking things out.
David PICKET-HEAPS also continues on, reaching the checkpoint on Loop 5, joining Klein and Todeschini in the top 3.
45.
What time is it?
3:45.
3:45.
45.
Why are those guys bothering to do that? They're just animals, huh?
3:45 p.m. and nearing the final gun on the 24 hours of Montezuma's revenge. Dozens of supporters and fans anxiously await the arrival back into town of 97 champion Joey Klein and his pursuers.
First place male Montezuma resident Joey Klein. Come on up here.
I think all of us wanted to like set some new records like 7th loop and stuff like that, and it's like no way, not today. Usually I like to want to, like, I wish that it didn't end at 4 o'clock, it would keep going, and this time it's like, okay, I'm done.
With the win in the 97 Classic, Klein notches his 2nd victory in 3 years. His totals, 5 loops, 132 miles, 24,587 vertical feet.
How do you feel?
Tired. More hurting than I think I've ever been on one of these.
This truly, they talk about it as an odyssey. This was the odyssey.
This was a tough one. I've done a few tough ones. This was the one. You know, I mean, everybody is just out of it.
Crossing the line in 4th place, Cullen Barker, a near repeat of last year's performance.
Cullen, how you feel, man?
I'm done.
You just done the 24-hour Montezuma's mountain bike for Odyssey.
What are you gonna do next? Sleep.
How you feeling emotionally, physically, and everything?
Good. The weather took a toll for a while, but feeling good now.
What was the toughest point for you?
Oh, going out on the third loop. It started raining again, so thought we were gonna have to go through the exact same thing as yesterday. So
You're probably mentally exhausted at that point, but yet you have to will that spirit. Is that, I mean, what happens for you? How did you put it together to keep on going?
I just told myself that I set my mind beforehand to go 24 hours, and that's what I was gonna do.
Barker's final numbers: 3 loops, 107 miles, 18,600 vertical. Now arriving in town in second place, BRYAN Todeschini. His numbers: 4.5 loops, 125 miles, 23,000 plus vertical.
It's a mental effort, you know, the whole race. I mean, I could have bailed halfway through if I let myself do it. So you just got to keep focusing, and it's the only way you're going to get through these races. So it's you know, it's mentally tough to the last minute.
The final scoreboard: Joey Klein with 5 loops, 132 miles, the winner. Todeschini second, PICKET-HEAPS third, Barker and Busey round out the top 5. Well, that'll do it from here in Montezuma, Colorado. The 11th annual Montezuma's Revenge is history. And what a mountain bike odyssey it was. For our competitors, our cameramen, and the spectators, truly some difficult weather elements. Lightning, wind, rain, snow, sleet, hail, sunshine, and the darkness of the night loop. But Joey Klein persevered to become a 2-time champion. Congratulations to him. And thanks for joining us from here in Montezuma. We'll be back for the 12th annual. We hope you'll join us then. The 1997 24-hour Montezuma's Revenge has been brought to you by Paul Mitchell, Professional Salon Products. Special thanks to the Summit Historical Society for the vintage photographs.
It's a mountain bike race. There's no doubt about it. It's an odyssey if there is one. Yeah, and you know, I just challenge anybody from anywhere in the world because it's the world's best. Better yet, it's the world's worst.